Hi folks. Well, it's the middle of March 2015 and uh, it's actually good enough weather around here that I'm gonna start cooking in the solar oven again. Now I'm not using the one that I made in this video. I'm gonna use a sun oven that I bought for a real cheap price at a yard sale, and I only paid I think $10 for that thing. It's a real cheap, inexpensive price. It's an amazing price, really. But I'm gonna make meatloaf in it today, and everybody knows how to make meatloaf, or most people do. But I'm gonna just run through what I'm putting into it. Right here, I've got about 1 cup of breadcrumbs, which I soaked in milk, and I'm going to put that in my mixing bowl. And here I've got green pepper, half a green pepper and a half of a medium-sized onion with some minced garlic that I've sauteed, and I'll put that in here. And here I've got 2 eggs, which I've beaten. In they go. And I've got a bunch of minced parsley here. And this is flat leaf Italian parsley. I didn't mince it that well. It's actually tricky to mince parsley. So in that goes. Here I've got about 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 of pepper. So that's going to go in. And mix this all around. Now here I've got about 1.5 pounds of lean ground chuck, fairly lean anyway, it's 15%. And here I've got some ground pork. Okay, so I turned the camera off and then turned it on again. I washed my hands. So now that that stuff is mixed up, I'm going to put this meat in here. And I'm going to just mix it all up with my hands, because I'm going to wind up using my hands anyway, so I'll just do the whole thing start to finish with my hands. Now this is a humongous meatloaf, because there's only 3 of us here, and there's no way that this will get eaten in one meal. So I'm gonna mix this up, and then half of it will be frozen using my seal meal. I'll freeze half of it and put it in the freezer. Now I have made meatloaf in the solar oven before, and I'm pretty sure I put a video up about it, but I don't 100% remember. I'm pretty sure I did, but this is the first time with the sun oven, so I thought it was noteworthy. And I do use my solar ovens quite a lot, really. I use them quite a bit. Probably have a little too much milk in here, but it's gonna have to do. Ooh, one thing I forgot, I gotta get. Okay, I'm gonna put some Parmesan cheese in it, and this is just pre-grated El Cheapo Parmesan cheese. This is not any fancy Italian Parmesan cheese. This is just your average everyday pre-grated bargain price Parmesan cheese. So that's going in there. I gotta mix this up again now. Get that incorporated in there. Okay. So now I'm going to get my pan. Now this is the pan that I've decided to use in the sun oven, and it's a pretty big pan, really. This is 16 inches from end to end if you count the handles, and that's pretty good size. It'll just barely fit in that sun oven. I checked it before I decided to use it for this. I checked it to make sure it would fit in there, and it does. If you put it at an angle, you got to kind of angle it in and it'll fit. So I'm going to put this in here, and I'll make a loaf shape. And put the lid on it, and then put it in the sun oven. It fits in there, just barely though. And if I adjust it, it doesn't quite work, but it does fit in there. So I'm just going to use it like this. I'm not going to try to angle this sun oven at all. I'm just going to use it just like this, and I think it'll be okay. Now I just put it in there. The temperature outside here right now is probably around 75 degrees, and the temperature inside the sun oven is up to about 150 degrees, so it's heating up pretty fast. Now, I'm going to angle it into the sun here, and now it's angled in, and I'm going to let this go for probably 2.5 hours altogether, and I'll need to adjust the sun oven a couple of times in order to keep it aimed at the sun. But I'm going to over adjust it right now so that in a little while it'll be perfect, and then after that I'll need to adjust it again. I decided I would use the angle adjustment on this sun oven, and I have it angled slightly more into the sun, just a little bit. And here I'm just doing a temperature check, and you can see that it's up to almost 250 degrees Fahrenheit. So this thing does work pretty good, and I like this sun oven better than my homemade one in some ways. In some ways I don't like it as much, but it's a lot easier to use than my homemade one. It's lighter and it's easier to set up, but it's not as big inside, and it doesn't get as hot as my homemade one. So the temperature here has reached 300 degrees. Now this has been in here now for about 3 hours, a little longer than I expected to have it in here, but I was doing something and I didn't lose track of time, but I really couldn't stop what I was doing. And you can see that the whole inside, the glass here, is all fogged up. And my experience with solar cookers, solar ovens, is that when that happens, your food is pretty much ready to eat. Now, one of the problems, of course, I don't like to eat at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but you gotta cook while the sun's up, so that's what I've done here. And this will have to be heated up a little bit when it's time to eat. So we're about to open up our meatloaf, and holy moly, it's all hot and cooked. And it's like any other meatloaf, it needs to rest for a while. Now, it would have been better if I had had some kind of a rack, a small rack I could have put that meatloaf on before I put it into the oven, but I don't have one. It'd be a good thing to have for a thing like meatloaf, because I really don't like it sitting in that grease, but it really just can't be helped. But in a little while we'll give it a taste test. Okay, Janine is going to give it a test. Is it good? Is it real good or just average good?
It's real good.
Okay, thanks. So there we have it, Sun Oven Meatloaf. Thanks for watching.